Mo Salah, then let's delve into that if we can, Spencer. I did ask you in our first conversation if you'd done something of a similar ilk regarding Mo Salah and the possible successor for him. It's a conversation, it's a thought process that probably will be happening behind the scenes at Liverpool with all the data analytics that's going on there. If you choose Michael Edwards, Julian Ward back in situ, of course. How did this search go, I guess? And in the same way I asked you about the DM and what you were looking for in that sort of essence, what were you looking for to replace Mo Salah?
Yeah. So I looked at, and this is one of the changes that I instituted for this that I would have done the first time around with the DM. I looked at the player that'd be leaving. So for the DM, it was Alcantara. For this, obviously, Salah. I looked at what Liverpool front line and more of the attacking midfielders, Harvey Elliott types in the team, what they also lack. And then as well, I looked at the profiles of the players that were at Feyenoord last year, especially on the right wing for Slot. The characteristics that were pervasive across, it was mostly between Salah and between the forwards that Slot had. Overall chance creation, both quality and quantity, they're really involved around the box. They're creating chances. Salah scores goals as well, but his wingers weren't really necessarily asked to do that. Surprisingly, progressive passing was something. So maybe that's coming deeper to pick up the ball, being more involved in the buildup than more of like a winger midfielder than more of a forward type of a thing. That was a big thing that his midfielders did a lot. Crossing was a big one. They played a lot of crosses. They were very accurate crossers. That was more of a Slot than it was a Salah. And then as well, carrying. That was the other big thing. Is so kind of doubles down on the progressive passing. They were asked to do a lot of carrying. I've only ever seen it pronounced or ever seen it written out, but Yankuba Minte, the right winger that Brighton just signed from Feyenoord, from Slot. Obviously, that would have been a great selection because he comes right from Slot. He was one of the best carriers in the Eredivisie and in Europe last year. So those were sort of the parameters that I set up, looking for players that were excellent creators, were carriers, were aggressive passers, and good crossers.
With all that in mind, then I don't know, by the way, full disclosure to the audience and the people listening and watching, I don't know any of these names you're about to tell us. So let's delve into it then. It's been a secret up until this point, much like David Ornstein's Mystery Six. This is Spencer's Mystery Salah successors. Talk to me. What have we got?
Yeah, so number one, and I was extremely happy to see that his name came up first, not just because in the DM search, there like Jorginho was the number one fit, but obviously like we can't sign Jorginho. I don't think I'd want to sign him, but the players like that were there, so I had to weed out players that realistically wouldn't make sense. The number one name on this list, Francisco Conceição from Porto, had sort of a breakout tournament at the Euros. He checks literally every single box. I made sort of a radar chart to help me visualize the data, and his radar was just like full all the way around. He does all of the things that I listed as the criteria. He's young. He would be just an A plus plus fit, I think, for what Salah's leaving behind and what Slot likes to see in his right wingers.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. In terms of that, then, I mean, numbers wise, in terms of what he's done up until this point in his career, does it stack up even remotely close? Is he trending in the right direction? Does his trajectory suggest that he could follow in the footsteps of somebody like Mo Salah? Because all the things you've said there are really positive, of course, but to just layman's and people looking at goals and assists, does that follow on a similar sort of path as well?
Yeah. So goals and assists was fine for a winger. The stuff that I look at in assists were good. Goals, not as much. But again, that wasn't really what I was looking for in the search
No, of course,
criteria. But I mean, Salah was a fairly unproven commodity when he came over from Fiorentina. Conceição, he's playing under his dad right now at Porto. So maybe he's getting some preferential treatment and the team is sort of set up around him. But if it is, I think that's probably a good move. He's a fantastic winger. I think the trajectory that he was on, he was in the Eredivisie 2 years ago, sort of had a breakout campaign there, was kind of struggling before that move, made the move to Porto, playing under his father this year, and had just a fantastic season. We saw it in the Euros, the game winner that he had. I believe it was against the Czech Republic. It was in the group stages. I forget who the opponent was, but yeah, he's a brilliant dribbler, high volume chance creator. I do think not only is he like the type of player that could replace Salah, but given his age and his trajectory that he's on, I think he can absolutely grow into the caliber of player that we need.
Okay, interesting. Only 21 as well. I was going to mention his age there. So yeah, that's another tick in the box alongside him profile wise. So Alan, do you want to move us on to the next guy then who could be the possible replacement?
Yeah. So I'm going to go with two names here. One is an older one. This I don't think he realistically would because of his age. He's not like old, but Kingsley Coman was third on the list. He's just as much a fit as Conte Sao is. He's just a bit older, so that's why I would not have put him first. The other one that I want to talk about would be Pedro Neto. So at first, he didn't show up in the search that I had because I did it based on just the underlying numbers, but the raw statistics. Uh, with the way that Wolves set up, he did not show as well just because of the lack of possession that they have, the way that they move in possession, just the way that they set up, it was not conducive to showing high, like, bright, flashy statistics that say, hey, he would make a really good fit. But the second component that I did, and this is something I did with the defensive midfielder look, is do a team adjusted version. So how they do compared to the team's median. And in that case, he shoots up to number 6 and would be the third best option in terms of ones that, like, obviously Ousmane Dembele. I can't select him. I don't want to have him. He seems like a bit of a headache, and I don't think PSG is going to sell him. So yeah, no, Pedro Neto is, I think he'd make a fantastic fit. Checks all the boxes that would be needed. Also has Premier League experience, is young enough. I also think from in Liverpool, from, like you mentioned, like a layman's perspective of the game, we've seen him before. People have seen him play. We've seen his brilliance. I think he would make not just a statistical fit, not just a profile fit, not just an ability fit, but a statement of effect type of a fit. We mean business. We're replacing him with one of the best, most sought after wingers in the Premier League.
No, absolutely agree with you on a lot of those points. The minute you say that name, though, my first thought, unfortunately, is injuries. He's just had probably one or two too many of them. I think if he could get a good season under his belt, injury free, then maybe that's something to revisit, perhaps. But there'd be alarm bells ringing for me with Pedro Neto. I agree with what you said. I think when you get him on the pitch, when you get him firing, he's an unbelievable footballer. And you can get players from Wolves. Liverpool have got a proven track record of having success for getting players from Wolves as well. So a lot to like about that. I just want to see him again stay healthy for 6, 7, 8 months or whatever. So yeah, interesting one. Any other names you'd like to touch upon?
Yeah, a couple. So Abdul Fattah, again, another name that I've only ever seen written or pronounced once. So if I said it incorrectly, my apologies. He was very high up there. We'll get to see him this year in the Premier League. He's very young. I think even linked with him a couple of years ago when he was like 17 or 18 before he signed with Leicester. So there is potentially some of the groundwork already laid down for him. All the players that I've mentioned fit all of the statistical boxes that I've mentioned before. So he's obviously he fits there. I think he's more to be determined if he's up to the ability yet, but he's very young and he fits the profile. And I mean, if he has a breakout season again for Leicester, then he's going to be more expensive. But you know what you're purchasing. Then that's why he's more expensive. So he's one. Then the other one is a name that I had to learn. I did not know about this guy. I had not seen him play once, but Brahim Gruda from Mainz. Young. This is how you take a look. Like, do I know that name? Let me think. Yeah. No, he's not much of a known commodity. He would be. I mean, he's young. It's similar to Fatawu, but the cool thing with him is I know Mainz is interested in Sepp Vandenberg. If we could do some sort of a swap. I think that would be that's more like video game type of a trade. But we have a relationship with the club from Vandenberg, so there is that. But yeah, he meets all of the statistical criteria. He's young. He's a really effective dribbler, really good chance creator. I think he'd be an interesting option. He wouldn't be my preferred, obviously, given age and lack of proven experience, but I think probably this year we'll start to see him. He's not going to go into the Xabi Simons or Florian Wirtz or that sort of a conversation of attacking midfielder winger that's in the Bundesliga, but probably the step below that. I think his name probably deserves to be in there, and I anticipate after this year he will get linked to bigger clubs. So that's another name to look out for.
Really interesting, actually. While you were talking, I had a closer look because you're absolutely spot on. I have never heard of that kid in my life. 20, and I like to think I'm quite well abreast of things that are going on across Europe. 20 years of age, left-footed right winger. So, yeah, like that. And what was interesting, actually, doesn't tell us loads about the player, don't get me wrong, but the Mainz sort of transfer market squad valuations were all in and around the, 1 to 10 million euros bracket. His was up at 20 million euros, which is double sort of the next one. So that just shows you sort of how highly he's thought of in terms of statistics, in terms of his numbers, in terms of his trajectory and his ceiling, I guess, as well. So yeah, okay, interesting. One to keep an eye out for there. And that's exactly the sort of piece of random transfer business Liverpool would do. And all of a sudden he goes on to be a superstar. So yeah, okay. Out of all these names then, Spencer, I don't know if I asked this for DMs, so I'll ask you in a second if I didn't. Who would be your choice?
For wingers, it'd be Salah, number
Okay.
one, two, and three. I think the ability that he showed this past year, he did it at the Euros, so we got to see him not for. I guess the only question that I would have is he just kind of doing it because he's really comfortable playing under his father? We got to see it at the Euros in glimpses. I think he has it. I think he's going to be one of the best wingers in the world at some point in the next couple of years, and he fits the profile. So he would be, yeah, he would be by far the best option for me.
Okay. And did I ask you about the DM? And if not, who?
No, I mean, I kind of alluded to it, but Ezekiel Palacios would be my number one choice. Obviously, of the ones, he's not really linked to Liverpool right now. I don't know if Leverkusen is interested in selling him, but if they got a big enough offer, like I'm sure they would be open to hearing it. Of the ones that are kind of more realistic, I guess the names that are being linked right now, it'd be Martin Zubimendi. He's the one that best fits the profile of what we're looking for. I think he's also probably the highest level of the players that have been linked, but yeah, if I was the boss, if I was in charge, I'd be knocking down Leverkusen's door for Palacios.
Okay, you heard it here first, everybody. Spencer, absolute pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much for your time. Let people know where they can find you, your profile, your social media, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So I'm on Twitter or X at FC_Mossman. If you enjoyed this type of content where it's more of an analytical look at player profiles and the way they fit into teams and just the way that the numbers speak about the game, that's what I post about.
Top man. Thank you once again. Massively appreciated. Everybody else, I'll see and speak to you all again very soon. Take it easy.